If you stumble upon a dead body in your boyfriend or girlfriend's wardrobe, what would you do? Amid the festive atmosphere of Christmas in South Korea, a woman opens the wardrobe in her boyfriend's room and freezes in place. Now, some people might immediately call their partner in a panic, demanding an explanation, but not this woman. She senses something seriously wrong and knows she needs to act fast. Without wasting a second, she contacts the police to report the gruesome discovery. In just one phone call, the mysterious disappearance of a taxi driver and the revelation of another potential victim come to light. The whole incident sets off a chain of events, kicking off the sensational Lee Ki-young taxi driver murder case that has recently gripped South Korea. On December 25th, 2022, on Christmas morning, Lee Ki-young's girlfriend visits her boyfriend's house to feed the 3 cats and dog he takes care of. That day, her boyfriend was not at home. As she stepped into his empty home, she embarked on a quest to find pet food. Her curiosity led her to open the wardrobe, innocently hoping to find the hidden stash. The moment she opens the wardrobe, she freezes in place. Inside the wardrobe, she discovers the lifeless body of a man who had been sitting hunched over with his breath cut short. Amid their joyful celebrations as a couple, introducing him to her parents and sharing meals together, he was her cherished boyfriend. But everything takes a chilling turn when she discovers the gruesome truth hidden in her boyfriend's apartment. Without a moment's hesitation, she dials the police, urgently uttering the words, "There's a dead person in my boyfriend's wardrobe." Responding swiftly, the police begin to piece together the puzzle. They uncover that the victim is a missing taxi driver, linking the dots to Lee Ki-young, the owner of the apartment. On the afternoon of the 26th, at Inje University Ilsanpek Hospital, where Lee Ki-young was being treated, the police make their move, arresting him. According to witnesses, Lee Ki-young, who entered the emergency room around 5:30 a.m. on December 25th with his face covered in blood, claimed to the hospital staff that he endured 5 hours of torture and survived beatings with a metal pipe before narrowly escaping. He showed a pitiful appearance, begging for help and expressing fear to the point that it made people uneasy. Yet, as the investigation unfolds, it becomes clear that his injuries were not inflicted by unknown assailants, but rather the result of arguments and fights he engaged in during the early hours of that fateful day. Putting on a show like that to deceive those around him makes it evident that he was a masterful pathological liar. As the investigation unfolds, shocking evidence emerges, revealing that Lee Ki-young, the suspect arrested for the murder of a taxi driver, is also responsible for the killing of his cohabitant, a woman named Choi in her 50s. The revelation of this shocking truth sends shockwaves across the entire nation, leaving everyone in disbelief. Let's examine the case from the very beginning. On December 20th, 2022, Lee Ki-young joined his girlfriend's parents for a meal, accompanied by alcoholic beverages. Following the gathering, he recklessly drove his white Sorento vehicle while under the influence, resulting in a minor collision with a taxi driven by a 60-year-old taxi driver. Deceptively, he entices the taxi driver to his apartment in Paju, promising him a substantial settlement amount and repair expenses. Once inside, he mercilessly strikes and kills the taxi driver using a blunt object. At that time, Lee Ki-young was financially struggling with only 450,000 won in cash and approximately 1.7 million won in his bank account. He had no means to fulfill his false promises of settlement money. For around 5 days, he leaves the lifeless body concealed in his own wardrobe. During this time, he fraudulently takes out a loan of 50 million won in the taxi driver's name, withdraws money from the victim's bank account, and indulges in a lavish lifestyle, splurging on a couple ring worth 6 million won. Eventually, the heinous crimes which had initially gone unnoticed come to light thanks to the courageous report made by his girlfriend. Lee Ki-young attempts to downplay the incidents, claiming that the murder was an accidental outcome of a heated argument over money. However, on December 28th, the Ujeongbu District Court issues an arrest warrant for Lee Ki-young, charging him with murder, corpse desecration, corpse concealment, theft, fraud, and additionally, special revenge murder under special laws. Born in 1991, making him 31 years old at the time, Lee Ki-young had a troubled history during his time serving as a sergeant in the South Korean Army. Due to his problematic behavior, he received a dishonorable discharge. In May 2013, while stationed in a military unit near the border, Lee Ki-young was apprehended by the police for drunk driving without a license. In a shocking turn of events, he made a daring attempt to escape, dragging a police officer along for approximately 2 kilometers. In addition, he bit the hand of a police officer who tried to remove the car keys, causing an injury, and was handed over to the military prosecution. In October 2013, he was sentenced to 1 year and 6 months in prison at a military prison for charges of drunk driving, driving without a license, and obstruction of special official duties. Moreover, in December 2018, Lee Ki-young ignored traffic signals leading to an accident involving a taxi in Paju City, Gyeonggi Province. At that time, he managed to reach a settlement with the taxi driver, but received a sentence of 8 months in prison, along with a 2-year probationary period for violating the traffic laws. However, in November 2019, Lee Ki-young repeated his reckless behavior by driving under the influence over a distance of approximately 30 kilometers from Gwangju's Donggu to Changseong-gun in Jeollanam-do. Consequently, he received a 1-year prison sentence, marking his 4th offense. And ultimately, in December 2022, Lee Ki-young committed murder. Astonishingly, police investigations revealed that this was not his first murder. After his arrest on suspicion of killing a taxi driver, it came to light that Lee Ki-young had previously murdered a woman in her 50s. Who happened to be the homeowner of the residence he occupied 4 months prior to the recent crime. He went to great lengths to deceive others, assuming the identity of the woman and fabricating false messages sent to her family and acquaintances over a period of 3 months. In total, he sent 92 messages to her family and 132 messages to her acquaintances. During the police investigation, he maintained that the crime was impulsive and accidental, claiming that he unintentionally caused his cohabitating girlfriend's death by throwing a blunt object that struck her. However, it was later uncovered that he had conducted multiple internet searches on topics such as lethal pesticides and poisons prior to the crime. Furthermore, he had researched methods to unlock a phone, suggesting premeditated murder with a motive of financial gain. The victim, Miss Choi, worked as a karaoke assistant. After his discharge from the military, Lee Ki-young struggled financially with no specific job and worked as a day laborer. It was uncovered that he had borrowed more than 350 million won from the victim, with whom he shared a residence. Additionally, a debt agreement outlining the terms of repayment within a specific time frame was discovered. Forensic analysis of bloodstains found at the crime scene indicated that Lee Ki-young had viciously struck Choi's head with a blunt object more than 10 times on August 3, 2022. Immediately after committing the crime, he transferred 39.3 million won to his personal account using a credit card in the victim's name. Additionally, he made purchases totaling 41.93 million won with the victim's debit card and used her phone's SIM card to unlock it and withdraw the remaining balance of her account from an ATM, amounting to 81 million won. In the month following Miss Choi's murder, Lee Ki-young, who still resided in her home, shamelessly boasted to people about inheriting a substantial sum of money from her. He even bragged about his extravagant lifestyle, utilizing Miss Choi's credit card to borrow nearly 100 million won until December and making a girlfriend. After exceeding the credit card's limit, Lee Ki-young attempted to sell Miss Choi's apartment, which he had been occupying in November 2022. He lived in the house as if it were his own, leaving behind clothing, cosmetics, and even the pets undisturbed. The question remains, where is Miss Choi's body? After all of his crimes were uncovered, Lee Ki-young proved uncooperative with the police's efforts to locate Miss Choi's remains. He provided a statement indicating that he had disposed of the body in a rooftop cargo box of a car, dumping it near a riverbank in Goyang City. However, this lead turned out to be false. Due to heavy rain and subsequent typhoons, as well as the passage of 4 months since the disposal, the body could not be located. Later, Lee Ki-young recanted his previous statement about the disposal location. On January 3, 2023, the day before the trial, he claimed that he had disposed of his live-in girlfriend's body at a location called Daejeon Tank Defense Facility 92 Point. However, once again, the police came up empty-handed, despite an extensive 3-day search using excavators and search dogs. During the on-site verification, Lee Ki-young, wearing handcuffs, pointed to sloping ground and provided a detailed description of how he buried the body, gesturing to dig the ground with his handcuffed hands. He even impatiently instructed the investigating officer on how to dig, saying things like, "Give me a shovel," and turn the shovel upside down to dig the soil. His behavior led Professor Lee Young-hyuk from Konkuk University's Police Science Department to believe that Lee Ki-young was playing games with the prosecution and the police. Professor Lee analyzed that Lee Ki-young intentionally lied to reduce his sentence, as it would be advantageous for him if the body was not found, and it would be difficult to prove the murders without it. Lee Ki-young was known to be skilled at lying. Since a young age, he would fabricate stories about being the grandson of a wealthy building owner, boasting about owning numerous buildings. He would also pretend to be a successful CEO or a wealthy entrepreneur, showcasing his imaginary wealth. In reality, his grandfather only owned a small 4-story building, and even his own father grew tired of his constant lies and distanced himself from him. A former middle school classmate of Lee Ki-young recalled how he used to lie excessively during their school days, to the point where they couldn't distinguish between truth or falsehood. They even mentioned that he exhibited traits similar to Munchausen syndrome. Another individual, Kim, a CEO, shared how Lee Ki-young presented himself as a successful businessman in his 50s when he was actually in his early 30s. Despite having doubts, people were drawn into his persuasive stories. Kim felt relieved when Lee Ki-young was arrested just before attending a mansion party organized by him. In a disturbing incident that occurred before his arrest, Lee Ki-young used the credit card of the deceased taxi driver to buy alcohol and meal for 5 men he had just met. He even asked them, "If I give you money, can you do whatever I ask, like killing someone?" This raised the possibility that he was seeking another victim to murder and rob. Profiler Pyo Chang-won emphasized the need to find clues within Lee Ki-young's lies. He noted that both murders were committed in a place he considered safe, his own house. Similarly, he likely abandoned the body in a location he deemed secure. Lee Ki-young left his ex-partner's dog at a pet hotel after murdering her and claimed he was going to see his wife conducting business in Malaysia. Additionally, given his 6 months employment as a laborer on a construction site in Paju, the investigators focused their search for clues in that area. Based on the information provided by Lee Ki-young during the police interrogation, they discovered the existence of a nearby location called the Malaysia Bridge in Paju, about 6 kilometers away from the previously mentioned abandoned location. Profiler Pyo Chang-won advised the police to concentrate their search efforts on the places where Lee Ki-young had worked. On January 19, 2023, Lee Ki-young was indicted on charges of aggravated robbery, murder, concealment of a corpse, and other offenses. During the trial held on February 22, 2023, at the Ujeongbu District Court, Lee Ki-young admitted to all the charges brought against him by the prosecution without objection. On April 12, 2023, the prosecution sought the death penalty for Lee Ki-young. However, on May 19, 2023, the court sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for 30 years. The court also ordered the placement of a location tracking electronic device on Lee Ki-young for 30 years. In response, the daughter of the second victim, the taxi driver, expressed her protest, stating that she could not accept anything less than the death penalty and called for the reinstatement of capital punishment. On May 24th, the prosecution filed an appeal against the first verdict. They stated their reason for the appeal, emphasizing the need to impose the maximum penalty on Ki-young in accordance with the law. They considered the immense pain and sorrow suffered by the brutally murdered victims and their families, the shock and anxiety experienced by the general public, and the importance of preventing similar crimes. It is known that Ms. Choi, who tragically passed away, had taken care of 3 cats and 1 dog. The girlfriend, who narrowly escaped becoming a victim herself, discovered the body while tending to the cat's food. During Ki-young's 5 days of detention, the animals were left alone in the house. However, the police ensured their well-being by providing them with food. After obtaining custody relinquishment agreements from Ki-young, the pets were rescued. When news spread that they would be euthanized if new owners weren't found within 10 days, a rush ensued to find them new homes. We hope that the victim Choi's remains will be discovered soon so that she may find peace. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.